And welcome back to Fully Equipped. J-Wall, RB, Uncle Gene. Serial Killer might be joining us for this week's episode, but he's currently stuck in New York traffic. I feel awful after spending 5 years living up in New York. I guess I didn't have a car for most of it, but I didn't drive around as much as he is. It's the worst. Take public transportation, train, whatever you can do. Just don't drive. Anyway, boys, we're going to do things a little bit differently this week. No regular pod. Instead, we are going to be, as we teased in last week's episode, we're going to be doing a fully equipped hotline. I mean, by now, I would hope that you know that we do have a hotline. You can leave us a voicemail at 602-935-4974 and rant, rave. We've seen it all since we started the hotline. It is probably
compliments. Always take compliments as well.
Yeah. I don't mind the banter, and we have the pro Gene and the pro RB crowd. So that's always fun. But yeah, leave us a voicemail and we'll make sure to get to it in a future episode. But I think what we're going to do, because we have so many good ones, and as I mentioned, we are giving away a Cobra Volition, Dark Speed Volition America driver. $650 driver to the best question. But we're going to spread this out a little bit. We're going to do 2 episodes of questions because a lot of people want to know our take on various gear. I don't even know. Maybe not gear. I don't listen to the questions anymore. Just coach. Because I feel like that gives us a very organic answer. We have no idea what's coming, which is also terrifying. Anyway, so I guess without further ado, do we want to get going? Gene mentioned something about a special guest. God.
I'm taking over this pirate ship right now.
What the hell is about to happen? I have no idea. I literally have no idea.
I am bringing in one of the OG fully equipped to sit down and sit in on this. Without further ado, come on in, my brother.
And welcome back to Fully Equipped, where we take PGA Tour gear-focused content and adapt it to players of all skill levels. I'm Tim Breon.
Oh, it is the professor, the OG, my original brother in gear. Coach.
So
Coach
I'll kick off the mailbag episode with one major question. Do you still search for golf balls in the woods?
Oh, there it is. There it is. Wouldn't be an OG fully equipped episode without the professor asking me about my golf ball habits. Yes, I still do. But we're not gonna.
That was such a letdown. For an hour and a half, I'd been anticipating a no.
Yeah.
I just hear a yes.
Oh man.
So sad.
Yeah. So just so we know, because I'm sure a lot of people were wondering where the professor went. He's now at Foresight. He's a big wig there. I saw your compatriot, Mr. Garrett, out on the range at Colonial. He was busy carrying Foresights under each arm, so he's earning that paycheck.
He's usually pretty busy these days. Number of players using our launch monitors, so it's been great. It's been a great couple years, great transition. I love listening in. It's funny, I never listened to a single one of these back when we were doing it together, but now that I'm
but now he does.
Departed, I listen to all of them. So you guys are doing great. Keep up the great work, and keep that gear info coming.
Yeah. All right. So the professor is around. Hopefully, serial killer when he gets out of traffic. It will make 5. This is going to. I have no idea what the hell is going to happen with this pod this week, but I guess just like most things, Gene is now, for those not watching Fully Equipped. By the way, if you're not watching Fully Equipped on YouTube, at Fully Equipped Golf on our YouTube page, Gene just handed the professor a drink. So what could go wrong? Okay, I guess without further ado, Coach, hit us with the first question.
Be hospitable. Come on.
Coach, hit us with the first question before it goes anywhere off the rails.
Alrighty, this one's from a longtime listener, so it's very fitting the professor is back. Hiya, Tim.
Mark.
Hey, guys. It's Travis from San Diego. Longtime listener all the way back to the days of the professor and Tursky. I have to respectfully contest Gene as the voice of reason, because while he is extremely wise and intelligent, real men collect bourbon and not wine. Plus, the golf ball really needs to be rolled back. So, Ryan is really the voice of logic here. Now, all joking aside, my question. How much do you think sales goals and incentives like commissions play into the equation for individuals while they're being fit at stores or fitters? In other words, do you believe ulterior motives push employees to push customers into certain products so the employee gains more? I openly ask this because big box stores give out incentives, and there's a nameless competitor of TrueSpec that has a reputation for fitting people into super premium products. And their sales show this, as their training is centered around sales. All of your insight is appreciated. Thank you.
So first, let me answer. I hope that you watch this on YouTube and you can see I have a healthy bourbon collection, and I am an old-fashioned drinker. So I am multifaceted when it comes to my alcohol proclivities. But your question is a really, really good one, and it's a dirty little secret in the industry. And I'm not going to name places because that's going a bridge too far. But there are definitely spiffs. And here's the easy tell. If you go into a retail environment and someone's pushing you hard towards something that you've never heard of, they're getting a spiff on it. It's just that simple. And when they tell you it's as good as the top brands, they're getting a spiff on it. So that's why you always have to do your homework when you go in, and you've always got to have multiple options and not go with whatever a salesperson is pushing on you.
So I will chime in from my former retail experience many years ago. Yes, they used to exist. I know, I'm sure they still do. I can definitely say that I've won a laptop computer that is probably worth about $4 now. Many years ago in a sales contest. I've gotten all kinds of different sporting goods and clubs from different sales contests many years ago. It does exist. I think the biggest thing is it was always like an option that I would give, but I never tried to push it because I always thought that because if you did that, and I feel like that's why I'm in a position where I am today, because it was something where you would showcase the option to a player, explain it to somebody. And I've worked for OEMs too. So like, look, like I've kind of worked all different channels here. But it does exist. I've seen really bad sales tactics when it comes to this across the board, and from big box to like custom fitting studios. It does exist. But I do believe that when you are discussing with a fitter and you are in one of those positions, the beautiful thing about the industry now that didn't exist 10 years ago to even 10 years ago, I would say kind of like that was kind of that break point. But 15 years ago was like, you were kind of relying on like what was available for information, and you were trusting the salesperson. When you have a launch monitor in front of you and you can ask, how is it set up, and all of these things that are there, and you know that it's giving out the right information, and you bring your own equipment to compare against something as well, it's very difficult for someone to say, well, this one's better, when you're like, no, but the data shows this, right? Like that's why education is so important when it comes to this environment, because as the consumer, like I can go in and ask a bunch of different questions about, I was researching barbecues today, and I don't really know much about barbecues, but I'm looking it up and I'm okay, this, whatever, this company's offering this recommendation, this company's offering this recommendation. But at the end of the day, like I know that I can go somewhere where I'm going to find more information, but for barbecues, it don't really exist. But for golf equipment, I can go talk to a fitter. I don't really care what they say if I'm like partially educated in this whole thing of launch and spin and dispersion and spin loft and all these different kind of little thingies that you're looking at, and go, it's right there, man. It's not better. And you can say that because the equipment is there. And I think that is the difference now than it was many years ago. So yes, they still exist, but I think that it's very difficult when you have a consumer. I realize not a lot of consumers are educated. We are talking to generally the very highly educated equipment consumer when we are on this podcast, but that's why you should tell your friends. Like I've seen people go to fitting studios in certain places and they come back and it's like, I got fit for this club and this shaft. I'm like, I know like 6 people that got fit for like a shaft from that like brand. It's like, something's up. Something is up. Okay. It's pretty obvious at that point. And that's when you have to question what you've done or what you've looked at. And then maybe, look for a second opinion.
Yeah. The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. But I think that, this is where we do our best to like educate the consumer and hopefully help people make good decisions.
Yeah. Professor, you got anything to add?
Just ask your salesperson, ask your fitter. Are you on any spiff programs with any manufacturers? Full disclosure. Ask them, is there any sales incentive programs on certain products this month? Just ask going in. And some people will be honest with you and be transparent. I would say that it's very fitter driven. Some fitters hold the experience and the quality of the integrity of the fit, at highest regard. And then others, it's about a paycheck. And so, understand the reputation of the fitter that you're working with, do some homework, find out if there's a consensus that a bunch of customers got fit into the exact same product. I'll always remember in all of our international travels, Jonathan, I'll always remember that a specific OEM clubhead brand was also a shaft rep and was also the grip rep. And 80% of the clubs coming out of this fitting shop were this specific OEM with this shaft with this grip. So just ask if they have any affiliations or partnerships that you should know about.
It happens. And yeah, again, as the guys mentioned, do your homework, ask questions. If it doesn't feel like a good fit, something feels off, probably is. Just go with your gut. Anyway, all right, Coach, question number 2.
This next guy just seemed really, really down and out. So I'm hoping you guys can help him. Just devastating stuff going on in his life.
Hey guys, it's Scotty from Dallas. I'm coming you from Louisville, Kentucky today. Hey, listen, I really need your help. Lately, I've been getting a lot of criticism about my driving. I usually go down the right side, but now I've been kind of swerving over and taking it to the left side of the fairway. I think it may be because I'm holding on to the club a little bit, not good. Just kind of attaching myself to it the wrong way. And man, it's just really dragging my game down. So I'm hoping you guys can maybe give me some advice on that. And really I need some advice because I've got myself in some legal trouble lately and I need to liquidate some clubs, raise some cash. So maybe you can tell me where I could sell some of my clubs to make the most money. Oh man, the baby just spit up all over my jacket. Fred's gonna be so mad at me. Anyway, guys, I appreciate it. I got to go clean this mess up and hook 'em horns.
We all know who this is, right?
I was gonna say this is the one.
This is Bob from SC.
Yeah, I thought the joke was a good joke. I will say the Scotty joke, that was a good joke. I honestly thought he was gonna say this is my one call and this is my one call from my cell. And I've already talked to my lawyer, so no one saw me make the second dial, and I really got to learn about my driving.
That would up our ratings, that's for sure.
That was good. I like that. That was really funny.
If your driver's putting you in jail, try a mini driver.
Yeah, there you go.
Try a mini driver if the regular driver's putting you in jail. I mean, it's pretty. Next question.
Bob from SC is always bringing the goods, so I would say that's probably tops. Probably 2 in, but yeah, it's gonna be tough to beat. All right, let's go to question number 3.
Okay, this guy, he was down and out, but now he needs help making his comeback.
Hi, my name is Barney Turner. I loved your podcast. I'm almost 60 years old, and I haven't played in the last 3 years or so because of knee replacement and ankle replacement surgery. But I'm getting back into the game. I used to be able to play. I played a little in college and was a low single-digit handicap for most of my life. But I can't generate the clubhead speed that I used to. My clubhead speed's under 100, and I'm just wondering, I like to sort of build from the green back towards the tee, so I'm playing Pro V1s right now, but I'm not sure that's the right ball for me. But is that the right way to do it? Is start with what feels good around the greens and then build your set from there? Or do you think or what do you think is the best way to try and optimize things if you're sort of starting over?
Yeah. Okay, so this is actually perfect timing. I mean, we've mentioned on the podcast before, if you want to look at the way guys test, I mean, you could look at one of the greats. Look at how Tiger Woods tests. He starts with, he drops some balls on the putting green. He rolls putts. He listens to how it sounds coming off the putter face. He's trying to gauge how it feels coming off the face, and then he's working his way back from the putting green to the chipping area. And oh, by the way, this is what all the elite players do. I was talking to just this week here at Colonial. I was talking to Kellen Watson, who's a tour rep for Callaway, and he's done a ton of work with Xander Schauffele. And he said Xander tests the exact same way. And everybody else on the Callaway staff starts around the green, whether that be starting on the putting green or the chipping area and working their way back. And that's what you should be prioritizing is how does that ball react around the green? Does it execute a lot of those go-to shots that you have in the bag? Does it feel, whether you like a little bit of a softer feel coming off the putter face? Do you like a little bit of a clickier feel? Yeah, you have to start there and then work your way back. Some will say that if you need more distance, that you should be starting with the driver. No, I mean, yes, it's important. You want to find a ball, but nowadays, if you're playing a premium ball, a lot of the products out there are able to decouple launch and spin from the top of the bag to the bottom of the bag, so you can get the best of both worlds. But yes, start around the green. That's one of the areas. Even though we don't like to say do things like the pros, you should do things the way that you should do them, and that's just the best way for you. In this case, yeah, start like a pro, start around the green, and work your way back.
And from a testing standpoint, especially when you're in a urethane product, you're really not going to see any significant distance gain from a golf ball. What you are going to see, to your point, Jay Wall, is feel, touch, control in your short game. And you can make the argument that there's different urethane balls from a descent angle standpoint in your mid irons and even a little bit in your long irons. But the reality is, if you're concerned about distance, especially with the driver and hitting 60, this is when it's time to start looking at lighter weight shafts if you can handle them. He's a better player. I don't know what his tempo is, but this is where lighter weight shafts and longer clubs come in. But it's this balancing act. As you go lighter and longer, you will spray the ball more. So if control is an issue, then that's going to be a concern. The other thing, since we have the professor here with, foresight, get on a launch monitor. The GC Quad is an amazing tool to find out if you're optimized for distance. And if you're not, then you can start working with the launch monitor to figure out what your optimums are. And it could be a matter of loft change. It could be a matter of CG, getting your spin down. But it's critical to know your numbers before you start tinkering with things, because it could be as simple as he's spinning the ball at 2,800 and he gets it down to 2,400 and suddenly he gains 5 or 6 yards. So I would definitely start there.
Sorry for jumping off camera there. There was a giant bug. It was off camera behind my jumping
I
down
was
the wall.
just about to ask what was going on.
I was like, I really needed to kill it there. No, and you mentioned a good point. Like, because almost every golf ball is designed from a ballistics perspective to go as far as possible off the tee, starting at the green is a really good place to be, because it is so much about feel and control, and what that moment of impact is off the putter and the sound. And another thing, when we talk about the moment of impact and the putter, is controlling face angle. And an easier way to do that, which tests have proven compared to a parallel style putter grip, is using the reverse taper grip from Golf Pride. That, my friends, was a transition. All right.
That was incredible.
We have to let you know that Fully Equipped is brought to you by Golf Pride, and they are the makers of the reverse taper grip, because they know that the most crucial moment when it comes to being on the putting green is that moment into impact, and the reverse taper helps golfers control the putter face angle better. Like I said, more consistently when compared to a traditional parallel style putter grip. And with this reverse taper grip, you have 3 options for shape and 2 options for size. So there is a medium and a large size in all 3 options of their shape. There is the round, which is the universally popular grip for all kinds of different techniques. There is the pistol style, which is more for the players who are going to have the right hand low, talking right-handed golfers, left hand low for lefties. And what that does, it really locks in the top hand with that pistol style shape, but still offers the reverse taper, which helps reduce tension in the lower hand because it is slightly larger. And then there is the flat, which offers a more oval shape and really works well for players who prefer a more palm to palm style, which is think of being your hands almost being in the same position on the grip. So they're not really up or down one way or the other. And with these 6 grip options, when we include the size and the shape, there's all kinds of different ways for you to figure out exactly which one is going to work best for you. If you want to learn more about these and the other options that are available from Golf Pride as far as full swing grips and their other traditional rubber style grips as well, you can head over to golfpride.com. That is golf, GOLFPRID. I trust our listeners. You are smart people. You know how to spell. That is golfpride.com to learn more about the reverse taper grip and Golf Pride's entire selection of full swing grips as well.
There we go. That was a beautiful transition, by the way.
I try my best.
Yeah. I think RB actually wins the driver right now. So he didn't
I've
even
got
ask
one, and I will say,
driver, huh?
thing is a cannon.
Yeah, somebody's going to get a really sweet driver out of this. All right, Coach, next one.
Well, speaking of that driver, wouldn't be a hotline episode without Anthony in Kentucky. I will get to one of his real calls of many. I will get one to the real ones. But he also called just to let us know.
How many times did Anthony call?
7. Six real questions, and then this one where he just wanted to let us know his thoughts about the winner of this competition.
Hey guys, it's Anthony from Kentucky. I was just thinking about your driver giveaway, and I've got a couple points on that. I feel like I'm the winner already. A couple points here. You're announcing this around the PGA Championship, which is being held in Kentucky, which is where I'm from, at Valhalla, which is where I live, and it's in my address, Valhalla Avenue, and I'm an avid listener. And if I'm not mistaken, you have featured 4 or 5 of my questions on the pod.
Because we love them.
Ask me, I've already won. Thanks. Bye.
Oh, amazing.
Oh man, Anthony. I love Anthony. He always has great questions.
Anthony. Much appreciated.
Yeah. Seven's excessive, but man, got to respect the hustle.
Well, let's get to one of his other questions, which I was hoping Chris would be on for, but Tim can offer his thoughts on.
I was about to say we have the professor, so I think we're good.
Hey guys, Anthony from Kentucky again. Listening to the latest pod. Just a thought: if I was an OEM company and I build a tour truck, I would have a simulator in the truck with the course that they were actually playing that week and the conditions set for that course. So when the guys came in to test the club or build a specific club, they could do it there and speed up the process. Just a thought. Thanks. Bye.
That's an interesting thought because, I mean, Callaway just last year put a putting green in their truck so that they could help speed up the head-to-head testing process. It has Quintic and you know, that's kind of their way of kind of getting guys into new product, or at least showing them that the new stuff is better than whatever they have in the bag. So I think it's a great idea. It's just where the hell are you going to put it? I mean, Cobra's truck, for example, they've got lockers and a food stash and a smoker, and it's like where are you going to put it? That's the only thing. So I guess you got to make a bigger truck. I
would say the reason why this doesn't exist, it's actually, like, to be very fair, it is actually like same with Callaway and the Quintic system. It's a pretty interesting idea, but you have to remember PGA Tour players have full access to the golf course that they are at, and it is and because of their abilities to be dialed into their current equipment already, and when it comes to statistics that they utilize out on the tour and from their OEMs as well. I know a lot of the OEMs work with their players when it comes to looking at statistics when they are releasing new equipment and launching new equipment and launching new categories of equipment, whether it be, like, say, TaylorMade with a mini driver or their UDI or DHY. Like, they can go into the statistics and show a player, this is your weakness within this certain yardage. This is the club you're using now. Titleist did this specifically with Max Homa is the perfect example. He was using blades, And slowly those T series irons started working their way into his longer clubs because he would just say, man, they're way easier. My dispersion is better. Same thing with Justin Thomas. So when they have these clubs that are built, they can literally go to those holes with a launch monitor and immediately get that feedback in the real world, which is why, as much as the simulator is a great option from a practice perspective, when they are on site for these events, statistics plus consistency plus the ability to take launch monitors out either on the grounds or just on the range is kind of the reason why they don't do this. But I fully understand the idea why this is a great option, especially if you are just a country club player who has your own course on your like launch monitor simulator that's at the golf course that you play at, which I've seen many times at a lot of these really nice country clubs, which trust me is a freaking sweet option because people are working through their bags, they're hitting shots, they're hitting into certain greens. So it is, again, it's one of those things that's possible, and it is a really cool idea. But the reason they don't have it is because these PGA Tour players have access, and LPGA Tour players will have access to the course at their disposal. So they really just, it's not something that's like totally required.
I think there's somebody on this podcast who could speak to launch monitors that you can take out onto the golf course. I mean, I've seen it before. Tony Finau is a great example. I've seen him plenty of times out on the golf course with GC Quad right by his side.
A good number of folks are using Quad out on the course. They find it very, very helpful in conjunction with their Bushnell rangefinder. Bushnell, in the practice rounds, you can make adjustments for conditions, whether it's elevation change or there are new features in the Pro X3 Plus that actually characterize wind and barometric pressure and things like that. So if you're using a laser that makes these compensations in your practice round, it gives you kind of a bit of a cheat code where you have a plays-like number. And then one of the nice things about Foresight is that we also have a barometer in the unit. And so we know exactly how far the balls fly. It's interesting. Just got off the plane a minute ago, saw the whole entire Oklahoma State golf team. They're flying into San Diego for a national championship this week. And one of the players on the team I happen to know and mentioned it to him. Hey, make sure that you get make sure that you characterize your distance in the morning and the afternoon, because out here in San Diego, we get the marine layer. And the ball flies differently depending upon the barometric pressure, drastically differently in some cases. So understanding, how far you're hitting the shot in real time in the environment where you're standing, using that with a rangefinder that adjusts for the environmental conditions, it's a very potent combination. Tony had his quad serviced last year. He had 76,000 shots registered on his quad. So just do the math on that. He's had the quad for probably 3.5 years. I don't know how you physically get that many shots in 3.5 years on the device. But it just tells you the widespread utilization that machine, with some players. So yeah, I think that, when you're looking at the concept of using a simulator with tour pros, you nailed it, Ryan. In the case of what Callaway, we're partners of Callaway, we're their launch monitor provider, and they utilize the Quintic, but it has to be in a very stable environment. You're not going to bring a Quintic up onto a regular putting green because of sunlight conditions and topography and calibrating it. So they needed an environment where they could count on being consistent so that it's easy to set that thing up and get some data. The nice thing about Foresight Quad, if you remember back to the Augusta, press conference where Bryson mentioned that he was not able to use the quad in the putting green, some folks use it to calibrate their putting. And so you do see players using technology at the event in the practice rounds extensively to dial in clubs. But there's not necessarily a need to do it in a simulator because you have the real thing right outside the back door where you can just get in a golf cart in the practice rounds or walk out there and hit a bunch.
It's kind of hard to beat. Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat.
I will say that there are a number of pros that are utilizing their simulators to help simulate start lines off of tees. So if like Memorial, Muirfield Village. I know of a number of players. We have Muirfield Village that's just about to launch in our library. I know a number of players that have asked if we had Muirfield because they want to be able to look at certain aim lines and kind of see where some of their dispersion patterns land out in the fairway. So they do utilize the simulators back at their house to get an idea of certain start lines and kind of get a preview of the golf course. There was a gentleman that was playing on the DP World Tour that it was his rookie year, and he was doing this for almost every event. He was getting in a simulator and actually playing a simulated round so that he could look at the visual like start lines and the eye, all the different eye lines, hitting drives off the tees. So we do see folks using simulators to get ready to prepare for tournaments, but not at the event site.
There we go. All right. Next one, Coach.
Yeah, I never thought I would say these words, but apparently we have a listener, and Gene's robot is causing him marital problems.
Hey guys, Jeff from Stillwater again. Take two. Really love the show. Best on the airwaves. So I was heading to quick story. I was heading to Golf Galaxy a couple weeks ago to check out the new drivers, and I made the wife listen to your driver episode on the way there just to try to, buff her up a little bit. She says, "Do you really think a new driver is going to make you any better?" I say, "Are you trying to say that Uncle Gene's robot doesn't know what he's talking about? That sounds an awful lot like something my ex-wife would say." She says, "You don't have an ex-wife." I say, "Exactly." Needless to say, I came home without a new driver and slept on the couch that night. Anyways, love the content, guys. Keep it coming. Take care.
Oh, man.
Hey, if you need a place to stay, I got some space in the trailer with the robot, so we could put a bedroll out. You could just curl up next to it and be ready to roll in the morning.
Man, this show has gone in the gutter since my days back.
Jeff has a death wish if he's saying that to his wife. My goodness.
Oh, I'm not touching this one. This is all you guys.
We like to say that it's not so much Gene is the voice of reason. It's the robot. It's the Golf Labs robot that is the voice of reason. And for that we are grateful.
Without that robot, I'm just clanging 2 tin cans on the corner, yelling at people, and nobody's listening. So
He's just a dancing monkey at that point.
You're doing that now with the robot.
Fair point.
All right, next one, Coach.
Okay, now we got a fella that is just sick of the word spin and hears it so much he now needs you to explain what the hell it actually means.
Hey, everybody. This is Matt calling from Michigan, and I want to talk one word, spin. This word is used by everybody. The ball is spinny. My drive was spinny. My wedges were spinny. Heck, I've even heard guys say that the fairway grass is spinny. To quote Inigo Montoya from The Princess Bride, "You keep using this word. I do not think you know what that word means." So in all honesty, can you help a guy out and tell me from the moment you place a ball on a tee till you put that ball into the cup, every time that spin occurs? I just need clarification, kind of understanding why everybody uses this word all the time. Do they mean spin of the ball? Do they mean spin off of the face of the driver? Is it while it's in the air? Is it once it hits the ground? Everybody uses the word spin, and it's almost like an excuse. So the more clarification, the better I can get to understanding what the heck they mean by this word. And thanks again for taking my call. And as always, Gene is the voice of reason. Thank you.
God, wow, damn! Come on, guys. I thought we talked about this. I
wish I could give you the driver, but unfortunately, J-Wall controls the keys to that. So sorry. So let me take a stab at it. It's a really good question. It's a really complicated thing. So when they talk spin, there's 2 basic types of spin of a golf ball, and I'm not getting too much into side spin. There's backspin and top spin. There's only 2 times you really experience top spin. When you putt for a little bit, when the ball hits after it lands, it starts to roll forward. And if you top a ball off a tee and it goes up a little bit and drops straight down, that means you hit top spin. Top spin generally is really, really bad. Backspin is good, but backspin is a loaded question. And the bottom line is, with the driver, you want very low backspin. anywhere from about 1900 usually on the lowest to about 2800 at the highest, depending on a lot of different factors, your club head speed, your experience, etc. And then as you progress through clubs, that spin rate increases. And one of the reasons that spin rate increases is the loft angle increases of your clubs. So all of a sudden your 3-wood has a little bit more loft than your 5-wood, and then your hybrid, then your 6-iron, etc., down to your pitching wedge. And the more spin you have, generally the higher the ball goes, and also the more the ball holds. So that's why your shorter irons have the most spin when you hit them into a green. Now, a lot of people talk about spin, and it's like many things in golf. There's a lot of anecdotes. Not because of our guest here, but you need to know your spin numbers on a launch monitor and know if you're in the right window. That is the key, because without a launch monitor, you're just simply guessing when it comes to spin. But what I can say, and Tim and I have worked closely on this for about the last 3 years, and you probably agree, spin is probably one of the most critical components when fitting a golf club and analyzing, from a distance standpoint.
Yeah, it's a component that it governs the amount of curve, it governs the height, it governs the stopping power, it governs the descent angle. So there's so much about what happens to the way the ball flies through the air that's governed by spin. We're going to get a little professor on this one. And basically the dimple pattern of a golf ball and the way that interacts with the way that the air is flowing past that golf ball, depending upon the amount of spin, it will either create more or less friction. The more friction it creates, the more the ball will curve, the more it will spin when it hits the green. And the less friction that it creates, the further it will go, but the less stopping power. To answer the question about spinning, anything can be categorized as spinny, quote unquote. A ball can be spinny. A shaft can be spinny. A club head could be spinny. He mentioned a fairway condition. So this is just a relative comment about, compared to a normal driver, this driver creates more spin than others. Compared to a normal regular flex golf shaft, this shaft creates more spin than others. The same and so forth with golf balls. When you're talking about the condition of the turf, there are certain turf conditions that will create more spin than other turf conditions. So when you hear somebody say, "Oh, it's spinny," that's what they mean, is that there's some condition or element of that, some property of it that's causing the ball to spin more than it normally would. Spin's not always your enemy. So when we look at the most elite, players over the last 30 years, 40 years, they played incredibly, quote unquote, spinny golf balls, because that allowed them to hit more types of shots than the other players. Now, if you don't have the skill to control that spin, that's why you see so many other players opt for a low spin ball, because they don't know how to predict what type of spin they're going to create from one shot to the next. So they opt for one that spins low across all shots. But in general, spin is actually something that you use to hit different types of shots, different curves, hit it higher, make the ball stop. And there's all different ways of creating it. You can create it through loft. You can create it through impact location. You can create it through, how steep you hit down into the ball. There are a number of different ways you can create it. But, last time I checked, most amateur golfers, the majority of the time, come up short. It doesn't seem like a ball that's spinning too much is hurting them all that. I think it's probably hurting them more than the average player. They probably don't need to make a big deal about spin.
If you're a golfer, and I'm going to tell you to check this out, because I know we've referenced it 100 times. I've used it so many times in different articles. Go to Ping now and go to their top corner. You'll see testing and their blog area. They have charts for ideal spin based on clubhead speed and impact dynamics for drivers and 7-irons when it comes to land angles and the ideal amount of spin, which is based off initial launch conditions. So that's the moment. Basically, if you think about it, and I think about a putt as the same way. We're going to the next question very quickly. But once you hit a putt, gravity and friction take over. You have done your job, and it's the same with hitting a shot. Once you have hit a shot and the initial launch conditions have been created, the wind conditions, the weather conditions, the speed that ball came off, you have done your job, and everything else is going to happen in that ball flight because of the spin and the spin axis and all these different things. So if you're looking for what the ideal launch conditions are relative to just hitting a straight shot, go to Ping, check out their ideal launch conditions for driver based on attack angle and clubhead speed. Same for their irons when it comes to land angle. Check that out, and that's going to give you a really, really good idea of what the ideal scenario is, and then you can extrapolate from there through other clubs of what works well for your golf bag. And they've literally color coded it for green to yellow to orange to red, which is not good. You know, as the guy in The Simpsons said when Homer went to go buy the RV in season 1, and the siren goes off, and because he was getting his credit checked before he bought that terrible little RV, and he's like, "Is the siren a good sign or a bad sign?" And he says, "Well, listen, the siren only means that if I go blind, I don't sell you a really nice trailer." That's kind of the quote. But basically, it means like if I go blind and I can't see the credit score on my screen, it tells me I'm not going to sell you anything. So, anyways, it's color coded. Go check out Ping's website. It's a great resource when you're trying to understand ideal spin versus not ideal spin when it comes to your launch conditions based on your club head speed.
There we go. That was actually pretty good. So, Matt, hopefully that answers your question. If it didn't, if those 3 experts couldn't give you the answer you're looking for, then, oh man, I don't know.
Now, all right. Not just before we get to the last one there, for Matt, for anybody else out there listening who is searching for answers or has already, been to a fit and found their ideal spin and they're looking to order the clubs for the specs that they just got, I think they should go to fairwayjockey.com because they offer the world's most extensive collection of aftermarket shafts and custom equipment built to tour level specifications. Not only that, they offer the lowest prices on custom built clubs, up to 20% less than the average club fitter quote from the leading club fitting brands that are out in the world. And they also offer accessories, they offer soft goods, and they offer small batch releases. So things like, limited edition Scotty Cameron putters that are of limited release, the Cobra limited 3D printed irons that will be coming out very shortly. They have them. I'm not guaranteeing that they're going to be in stock. You got to be quick because they go fast. They don't stick around for very long. But if you are looking for those small batch items or you are looking to get those aftermarket shafts at lower prices relative to a lot of other club fitters out there, head over to fairwayjockey.com to get your hands on those products right away.
Hey, J-Wall, balls found in the woods spin lower than balls that are fresh out of the box.
This is me giving you middle finger. Can't see it yet. Can't see it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. All right, Coach, give us one more, and then I'm actually going to throw a question of my own in here to wrap this one.
Okay, I'm going to give you one more that's a question, a little less serious, and then I do need to end this whole episode with another one that I was referring to in our chat earlier.
Oh, gosh. I'm done with the surprises.
From the Bay Area again. Food, water, shelter, or fire. The 4 of you guys are stuck on an island. Who'd be in charge of what and why? Thanks.
Gene's not responsible for the fire.
Okay, Gene can have the food because I do trust him with some really good food recommendations. So Gene gets food.
All right, I can handle that.
Oh man,
I'll take shelter. I can be pretty handy. I'll take shelter.
I would say RB is very handy. He can do the shelter. Who's getting
down to water or fire for you and me?
We're dead.
There's no way I'm trusting the professor with fire.
If it goes out, I'll be able to create another one, so it's not a big deal.
Out of what?
I'm resourceful.
Okay. I'm gonna give him water because I'm terrified. He might burn down. he might burn down RP's structure.
Oh, I don't trust me with fire either.
Professor gets water. I get fire, which is also highly terrifying.
But you can boil said water with fire, so you are technically in charge of water as well. So there's that. I'm kind of in charge of cooking, so I could oversee.
And we're all going to be dead in a couple of days anyway.
We're not lasting long. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Hopefully that answers that one. All right. So Okay, how do we want to do this then? Do you want me to do mine first, and then we'll finish off with a surprise from Coach?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. All right. So I was on the range today at Colonial, and I had the opportunity to watch Justin Rose take some cuts with one of Ben Hogan's drivers from his personal collection. Persimmon driver, steel shaft, modern golf ball. And I watched him hit one on the screws, 168 miles an hour ball speed, basically 270 carry, 291 all in. And it got me wondering, there's been a lot of talk about this golf ball rollback. And even last week at the PGA Championship, some of the higher ups at the PGA of America were asked if their stance had softened at all on the golf ball rollback. And it got me wondering, looking at the numbers that Justin Rose had with the driver, if you were the USGA and you could have it your own way, would you roll back the golf ball, or would you go back to a driver that might reduce distance but keep the modern ball? Which way are you going?
Do it both. You guys know my stance. I've posted videos.
This is not an option, RB. You have to pick one or the other.
Oh, you know what? Modern ball, give them a little small 250cc driver and see how fast they swing at it.
There you go.
Because you know what? If you hit a
smaller driver, okay.
If you hit a 250cc driver, whether it be a persimmon or not, the face, the spin is as Tim mentioned earlier, like your spin variation high and low on the club face. I don't care what technology you put in one of those things. It's going to be greater because the center of gravity is close to the face. You're going to get more gear effect. I'm sure they can figure out ways to reduce that, but nonetheless, it takes a lot of skill. That's what separated Tiger back in the day, like hitting a 975D driver that was 280 cc's maybe. Like he separated himself because he knew how to hit the screws, and that was pretty sick. So you know what? And then he did it with a tour accuracy golf ball, which at the time from Nike was a very good golf ball. It was a multi-piece. It was a multi-layer solid core golf ball. And so because of that, I would say make the driver smaller, let people play modern golf balls, and then you could let the amateur players play the big whatever freaking driver they want. Who cares? But yeah, I think that's a pretty cool option. If you had to pick, I'd go that way, but I do think the golf ball is a better way to go.
Well, what's interesting about that is you can't just put it to size. You have to do it to CG location. And the reason is they can slam the CG forward and make this thing like an iron. In other words, so you're not going to have a lot of gear effect on off-center hits. But if you make them pull the CG back, then when they miss hit at half inch or 3/4 of an inch, that ball's going to go off the planet left or right, especially at those higher speeds. That actually would be interesting because that's a risk reward to RB's point, meaning that they've got to hit it on the screws to maximize distance. And if they don't, they could be penalized. So while I am in favor of neither, I would definitely recommend, if I had to pick one, the club over the ball.
Professor?
Why do we call it a ball rollback? I mean, we're not going back to gutta purchase here. We're not going back to wound golf ball.
Well, you're rolling the golf ball back.
It's a regulated golf ball. And
the
thing is a lot of people don't understand what are they regulating? What are the changes? Is it mass properties? Is it cover construction? Is it materials? Is it dimple patterns?
We'll soon find out.
A lot of this is not, a lot of this is not at play within this quote unquote rollback. The balls that you use in different sporting activities change over time. The ball that you're using in the NFL is not the same that they used back in the 1960s. Have you seen the new ball that they're considering for the NBA, the 3D printed basketball? It's crazy. So this is just something that happens. So I think the nomenclature of rollback has caused this to have a bit of a blemish with folks. We're not rolling back the ball, we're regulating it. What's going to make the biggest difference to tour players? Absolutely, I think going to a smaller size club head where the MOI has to go down. The amount of curvature in the face has to come back because all the differential in CG causes crazy gear effect. Have JR go out there and hit 50 drivers with that Ben Hogan driver. And more than the distance differential between the two, look at the consistency or the dispersion pattern. And, on those 3 or 4 outliers that he hits, those balls are out of play, out of bounds with the persimmon driver. With the modern drivers, they stay on the golf course. And so I think it can impact the game more from a scoring perspective with tour professionals by making the driver smaller. And it actually kind of has a ripple effect because now you can't swing as fast because you have to have precision. And so now all of a sudden the rest of the game starts changing too because you can't just get up there and wail at a driver with everything you got anymore.
Yeah, I would say driver. That was gonna be my pick too. I feel like we're all somewhat on the same page. Although RB's still doing his usual, towing the line, trying to pick both.
Well, here's the question: Do you play a regulated golf ball? 5 years from now, are you playing a regulated golf ball in your regular round with your friends?
No.
Are you playing one, RB?
Yeah.
Oh, he is.
Are you, Jay Wall?
No, I don't think so.
Well, then we can't play a match. Because
that was the question. That was when the PGA was posed about if their stance was softening. John Leonard, who's the president of the PGA of America, said, look, one of the things that nobody's really talking about here, he owns a golf shop, is he said, I could see my members all showing up and in 2028 just buying every last golf ball they can buy and then stockpiling them. And then when 2030 rolls around, and because it's 2028 is for the pros and elite amateurs, 2030 is the recreational weekend golfers, what do you want to call them, are going to be grandfathered in until 2030. So at that point, what do you do? And so he was saying, I could totally see a lot of my members just stockpiling non-conforming golf balls. And then what do manufacturers do at that point? Do they still make the, now non-conforming golf balls in addition to the new regulated ball? Do they just stop making the now non-conforming product? I think there's so many questions, but we could keep going on that. And now I feel bad that I just kept this one going for longer than I was hoping it would go. But hey, that's what we do on this podcast, long-winded and just off the rails. Anyway, Coach, last one, please.
All right. I can't say that I can really call this a question per se, but I need to get your guys' opinions on if this person is doing a bit or if Gene should be terrified for his life.
Gene, you think you're so cool with your robot testing? Huh? You think you're smart talking about AI and 10K Moe? You know what? If I see you on that golf course, you're going to be owing me some money. Because Moe's not going to fix your game. Now give me that volition driver, you nerd.
Wow.
First off, thank you for listening.
Gene, is that one of your old friends from Palm Springs when you grew up there?
I think that might be an ex-girlfriend with one of those voice synthesizers.
Gene said that, not me.
Oh, wow.
They don't forget.
Yikes.
Hey.
Double yikes.
Love me or hate me. Thank you for listening. Much appreciated.
Oh, it's gonna be tough. All right, as we mentioned, this is gonna be part one of a two-parter. We're gonna be answering questions. Hopefully next week we can get Chris back on the pod. But you know what? This was fun because we were talking about it with Chris being in traffic. I guess he's still in traffic. What were we gonna do for the fitter aspect? And hey, we had the professor here. He filled in admirably. It was always good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys too. Keep up the good work. If you're ever looking for a fill-in, you know how to find me.
There we go. This is fun. All right. So with that, let's wrap up episode 242 of Fully Equipped. As always, if you want that gear goodness, check us out on social channels. We are at Fully_Equipped on Twitter and at Fully Equipped Golf on Instagram and the YouTube page. And hey, by the way, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the YouTube page. We're going to be releasing all kinds of fun content as the summer goes on. That'll do it for this week's episode. We'll see you next week with hopefully some more hard-hitting questions, maybe some more ex-girlfriends of Gene's past calling in to try and get a driver. Who knows? It's going to be fun. We'll see you next week.